Of course, we've got a vacant chair up there. That's right. So, could I have you've moved that apology be accepted? Could I have a second, please, Councillor Kennedy? All those in favour, please say aye. All those against, carried. Item 2, conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest items today? And also no conflicts of interest. We have an urgent late item that we've received, a late agenda item which will be considered in the confidential part of the meeting. The title of the item is Licence to Occupy Assignment. As the item was received outside normal agenda timeframes, there is a need to formally add it to the agenda. Therefore, I propose the following resolution. There's a resolution there that I'll quickly read out. Pursuant to section 46A, Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, the following item be added to the agenda as confidential item 6.4 and dealt with at the meeting as it was not available at the time the agenda was circulated. Consideration of the item is a matter of urgency requiring a decision without delay to enable Council to meet deadlines, finalise decisions and receive information with agreed timelines. So I'd like to move that if I could have a second. Thank you, Councillor Clark. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Item number 3, confirmation of the meeting of the Ordinary Council meeting on the 27th of June, 3.1. Do we have any clarification of those minutes at all?
Through the Chair.
Councillor Williamson.
Just regarding 5.5, it's not really necessarily an issue, but had a really passionate conversation with former Councillor Andrew Welsh regarding his involvement with as chair of the Land Purchase Committee with the ETA some years ago. I just actually mention that just for the record.
So
he had no issue with the naming of the road, but just want to be acknowledged that he was involved. He was actually an integral part of that.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Any other matters of clarification of these minutes? In the case, could I have a mover, please, for those minutes? Councillor, moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor King. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Item number 4, 4.1, the Ordinary Mumukino Palkani Representative Group meeting on the 20th of June. Any clarification of those minutes? No, that being the case, okay. Moved by Councillor Truman. I'm happy to second those. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Item 4.2, the Ordinary Taupo Airport Authority Committee meeting on the 26th of June. 4.2. Any clarification of those minutes? Very good. Something a little bit different, but great that Air New Zealand have announced yesterday to add 2,100 extra flights on over the summer period, extra seats. So I know that's not in the minutes, but that's good news coming out of Air New Zealand. All right, who's on the committee?
I can move that.
Move that. Thank you, Councillor Johns. Moved by Councillor Johns, and I'm happy to second those. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, carried.
Mr. Chairman, if I may pause you for a
Sorry.
I'll just pause you for a second. We do have the supplementary agenda item, which is the minutes of the council meeting on the 8th of May.
Right.
If we could go back to that.
Yes.
And we just need to do the same thing with those minutes. Just
We'll move those as well.
please.
Yep, sure. Okay, so we've got a supplementary agenda item that didn't make the existing minutes.
So it's in this item 3.2.
3.2. So that's the minutes. That the meeting was held on the 8th of May, Ordinary Council meeting. You've got the supplementary minutes here. So that was hearing submissions, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it missed the agenda, but it was circulated through to you, so you should have read them.
Okay, cool. Yep, cool. All right. Could I have a mover, please, for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Park. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. Any clarification of those minutes, by any chance? No. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Right, we'll go back to 5.1. Okay, 5.1, we received the Waikato Plan Joint Committee minutes, and you'll have tabled the completed Waikato Plan somewhere. That, unfortunately, that day corresponded with something we had here, I think, so either myself or Councillor Park couldn't attend.
Actual Waikato Plan's 5.7.
Oh, okay, yes, so can we have a mover for those minutes, please? Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 5.2, receipt of the Lake Taupo Protection Project Joint Committee meeting on the 20th of June. Page 37. Any clarification on those minutes?
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor Williamson, seconded by Councillor Johns. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 5.3, receipt of the final statement of intent documents from council-controlled organisations.
Okay, so I'll go through this in the absence of Sue Shaw, who's overseas. I don't know how you want to handle this. So this has been to council before. Some amendments were requested. I can go quickly through those if you want. It's whether or not you're comfortable with just what is set in what is pretty mechanical exercise, but I'm happy to go through those changes if you want.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Any questions of Mr. Wood, or is he happy just to take that as read, or changes made? Okay. There's been no questions. All right, there's a recommendation there. That council receives the final 2007-18 statements of intent for Taupo Airport, Waikato Local Authority, Bay Plenty Local Authority, Destination Great Lake Taupo, and Local Government Funding Agency. I have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. 5.4, Council June Performance Report, Chief Executive, Mr. Gareth Green.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's rather quick today because this month, because obviously we don't have the service delivery or financial reporting report given the time of the year that we're currently doing the annual report. So all we've got there is the Treasury Management Report for you to go through. We put a little bit of a highlight package together there. Obviously the move into our new premise started with the weekend just gone, which went very well. And a lot of work there for staff working through the weekend, etc., setting themselves up, but as I say, it was pretty seamless. On other positive news, we've got 2 finalists in the Business Awards this Friday night, so we look forward to seeing them do well in that event, and great for them to become finalists. And I guess the other really good news for us is a little bit of attention to Turangi as the work that's occurring down there on the both the eyesight with the Volcanic Activity Centre about to co-locate in that building, and so the eyesight's getting a bit of a makeover as we speak, facelift, and the service centre, which likewise is getting a facelift for our co-tenants, the Department of Conservation, who are going to be moving in there. So pretty exciting news for Turangi, and a lot of hard work from the staff making that happen. But Alan, do you want to go through the?
Yeah, oops. Thank you, Alan. Okay, as far as the Treasury Management Report is concerned, as we've stated earlier, the lack of corporate paper has put pressure on us as far as the amount that we actually have on bank term deposits. That's not helped by the fact with an OCR of 1.75%, it's hard to get a decent return. However, in saying that, as far as the TEL fund is concerned, after 887,000 being used as a rate subsidy and 500,000 used to assist in the relocation costs. We've still increased the fund from 54.6 to 56.3 million, which is a 3.1% increase. So that's net of those particular payouts. So it would have been about 5.5 otherwise. So with inflation as it is in OCR, I think we can be pretty pleased with the position as far as the TL fund is concerned. You'll also see that our net debt, our gross debt position is, as we budgeted, at 146 million. With the rates flow in, our net position is around the 30 to 40 million. And you'll see that there's a fairly low exposure to equities at the end of June. That's increased to 12% at the end of July as we're starting to be a bit more active in that field again.
Very good. Thank you, Alan. What happens next?
Any questions of this?
Any questions, Alan or Gareth?
Sorry.
Councillor Johns?
Thank you. Through the chair, just to Mr. Green, I was just wondering if you could give us an update. In your report, you talk about foreshore erosion and mitigation. Just could you expand a little bit more on what our priorities are?
Mm-hmm. So we've got a couple of areas of emergency works being undertaken as we speak, or have been finished. One of those is down at the what we call Hot Water Beach, down here at Taupo foreshore. That's pretty much complete now, and has been very successful. The other one is at the southern end of the lake at Kurito, where a combination of some sand replenishment and some hard works were undertaken in an emergency work schedule. Again, very successful, although as we'll always maintain that the sediment replenishment in particular is an ongoing process. It's not something you can do once and leave. There is a larger project for the remainder of that Kurito Omori beachfront, which we're working through with our technical experts, the community, and applying for consent through the Regional Council. So that's underway. And then likewise there's some work that we're doing down at Riverside Park, and so we took the gum trees out there relatively recently and doing some planting and getting ourselves ready for that managed retreat in that area. So those are probably the priorities. Aware of some other areas around the lake, Kinloch, some other areas around the eastern shores which have been under some pressure, and we're working with the Regional Council on those. It's fair to say since the lake levels dropped as we came into winter, the amount of erosion obviously has dropped coinciding with that.
But one would assume now that the level's dropping, we can possibly look at investigating into some of those other areas.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Williamson.
It's just more an observation. Once again, congratulate Mr. Minhea and his team for the award and the financial very wise and prudent management of our finances in this district.
I second that.
Councillor Williamson.
Right.
Thank you very much. All right. Councillor Hickling.
Well, I was going to ask a question, Your Worship.
Yes.
Particularly with regards to Riverside Park. We've lost an awful amount of that reserve down there with the erosion. I've been thinking just recently, that area has been stable for, 50 odd years. Yet all of a sudden we've had this quite large erosion down there, and I'd like to think that we could look in the long-term plan of doing some remedial work and probably try to reinstate some of that erosion work, because I don't know whether it's going to stop where it is at the moment. And if we're not careful, we're going to lose quite a substantial amount of reserve land down there.
So the erosion that's there has been occurring for some years. We've got records and reports going back, I think, 5 or 6 years where it was undercutting those gum trees.
It was undercutting,
to be fair, the gum trees are the things that have probably protected it as well as what they have. If it wasn't for those, it would have been more visible. And it was one of those unfortunate things that we had to bring the gum trees down because they were becoming a health and safety risk in themselves, partly because of the undercutting. I think it was the Fred Committee made a resolution in that location to do managed retreat, so not to undertake a...
I think we should review that though.
It would be up to you if you wish to review. That's the current policy, so hence we're planting and looking at that. We have had Tonkin Taylor give them do some work down there. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, we've had Tonkin and Taylor down there. We've also had Waikato Regional Council, their operations arm, having a good look at that area. And they are both in agreement that the managed retreat is the best approach for now. But obviously, if you want to revisit that, we can run that through Fred.
Yeah, I just wonder, because they did some quite substantial work in that harbour in the River North there they did extend the moorings further down towards the pump station and where that erosion occurs. And that was done probably 5-6 years ago. I'm just wondering whether or not that is some of the reasons why it's now just washing in. Just a comment.
Potentially, I guess there'll be a number of things there which Tom and Taylor would have looked at, and that could be a contributing factor. The river levels, so the amount of time that the gate is kept shut, and the velocity and river levels of water coming through will be a contributing factor. Our management of the site will be a contributing factor. So there'll be a number of things which change around that.
True.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Oakham. No other questions of the Chief Executive or the Accountant? No? All right, so there's a recommendation there. We received the information. Could I have a move, please? Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Okay, item 5.5, Treasury Management Policy. Neil Ward. Good afternoon, Neil.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Councillors. This item is one that we bring up annually, so basically it's an annual review of our policy. So as I'm sure you're aware, PwC are our Treasury advisors, and once a year we get them to run the rule all over the policy and just check that it's kept up to date with best practice across the sector. And what we've done is provided you with a red line version of the minor amendments that they have recommended. I'll take it as read and happy to take any questions on that.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. Any questions of Neil? Straightforward. All right. There's a recommendation there. The Council will adopt the Treasury Management Policy. Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Kingy. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. Right, 5.6, Freedom Camping Bylaw Adoption. We got Jane Budge. Good afternoon, Jane. How are you?
Worship and councillors.
Right.
Okay, I will take this report as read and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions of Jane? So this is enacting the bylaw. So what is the risks of enacting this bylaw today, or what are the, we know what the pros are, what's the cons?
Nigel?
That's all right. Well, any questions of councillors first, perhaps?
Well, maybe I can help a little bit in that you'll be aware that there are some risks in terms of the bylaw. The legislation, the Freedom Camping Act, requires council to have suitable evidence before it can make a bylaw to restrict freedom camping. You've also heard from submitters come through the chamber through this process who have indicated a concern with freedom camping in parts of the district. So the proposal that you've come to, or the proposed bylaw that you've come to, was seen as a elegant way of meeting both of those demands. There are still some questions in both of those counts in terms of whether or not you're meeting community needs and whether or not you're meeting the strict interpretation of the evidence that's required in terms of the Act. So it's a balance for you now. You have several options here today. You could either make the bylaw or you could not make the bylaw. I guess complicating this fact is that you do have the government, we're aware, releasing a discussion document on freedom camping at some point. That's been delayed, as I understand it, primarily due to the election. So we don't know what that's going to provide for yet. So that's a further complicating factor into the mix. That's probably about as far as I can go.
Okay, Councillor Williamson.
Obviously, we're out in the community having just various discussions around about particularly protecting the lakefront, and actually the 100-metre prohibition. To me, that and Mr. Mulvey down the back of the conversation, he's obviously interested as well as a member of the NZMCA and as a freedom camper and with moving around the country with regard, for example, at 3 Mile Bay, where Mr. Mulvey lives, is less than 100 metres, so we're going to be prohibiting vehicles parking outside houses. It gets a bit more involved, with regard to, and it's not actually affecting access or environment or health and safety, which is the only reason under the Freedom Camping Act you can have some sort of legislate against or have a policy, outside those areas. So I'm just a bit concerned whether we should be really looking at that 100 metre, whether it's 50, whether it's relevant, whether it's. I mean, I'm all for protecting, the lakeshore, keeping vehicles, freedom campers away from the lakefront, but whether it's a 50 or 100 metres, whether it's actually workable.
Okay. Any other question, Councillor Park?
Yes, I sort of tend to agree with Councillor Williamson in regards to this. I sort of, before with Taupo gave us a presentation, about people who put their $7,500 e-bikes on the back of a camper van and come and stay for 3 days and all this sort of thing. They're not the people that this draft bylaw is intended for. It's the slidey vans, it's the people who put their washing out over the fence along the lakefront, and the people that defecate and leave their rubbish everywhere. And just and with the sort of legality challenges and with the risks that have been identified, I'm not comfortable with this bylaw. Like, my heart thinks this is great, and for our communities this is what they want and we need to do, but my head tells me from a governance perspective that I think we need to hold off on this for a bit. I understand there's reserve management plans around parts of the foreshore where camping is prohibited outright in the first place. I'd quite like to see that sort of work, and I apologise to staff. It is probably an area that we should have asked about earlier when we were having deliberations back in May. And also, is 100 metres excessive? Not too sure. I won't be voting for this today.
Mm-hmm. So you prefer deferring on it until more of a direction from central government?
Oh, and I just want to see we talked about the reserve management plans around the lake where no camping's allowed anyway. Should we not be looking at that and just, if we're going to do it right, we need to just be a bit more thorough.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor King?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I guess we're all quite torn on this issue around just what Councillor Parker said and others have said about, balancing the community expectation with the Act, which is a very permissive Act. But I suppose if I put my lens over this, which is from a Southern Ward District Councillor perspective, I know what the mandate is from my community, and it's to enforce exactly what we've talked about in here around the 100 metre buffer, because it does impact, no matter what, on the very people that live in this district and want to interact with that taonga, which is the lake. So I think putting that into the pot along with everything that we have to consider, I am in favour of moving forward to side with our community in this instance, to actually send a signal that, whilst we understand there is an act that, I guess, sets the parameters, we also have a district and a community to balance their views, and so I'm more in favour of supporting it as is.
Okay. Councillor Truman?
We're going around the table. Yeah, so I'm probably opposite to my colleague here. It's from the other end of the lake, where we kind of, really recognise the economic benefit that our visitors bring when they come to our area. So, and also we're all for protecting our environment, and it's the environment that they all want to enjoy, as do the rest of us. So, I'm quite keen to just put this off and do a little bit more. I would like to see this a map that shows the areas where this can and can't happen currently without the bylaw. And I'd like to see that, and I am also interested to see what central government are going to come back with.
Okay.
I'd like to put this on hold for now.
Okay, any other comments? I guess perhaps looking at, Councillor Rankin, did you want to?
I just want to say I don't want to wait for the government paper. I think that's the wrong thing to do for our people, and I feel really frustrated that we can't pass the bylaw as we have it written here, but I think that to get the extra information about the impact of reserves is important before I'd want to make that decision. But I certainly don't want to wait for a government paper. That's another summer with those camper vans lined down there, and our people rightfully are not going to be happy about that.
Cool. We don't know who the government's going to be either, do we?
No.
All right. Right-hand side of the table. Any comments?
I'm in support of Councillor Kingy on this one. I think our community has signalled to us very clearly what they want us to do, and I think we need to stand up for our community. I understand that we have some legal issues and we are constrained by the Freedom Camping Act, but we're here to represent our community, and for that reason I think we need to act now. As Councillor Rankin said, I don't want to wait for central government either, because it could be 2 summers. I'm not sure waiting for a plan about reserves is actually going to give us any more information that would be materially significant at this stage, so I think we should put a stake in the ground and make this bylaw now.
Yeah, through the chair, I tend to support Councillor Truman's view. I respect Councillor Kingy's with the 100 metres and protection of the lake, because no one would be more conscious of that than I would be. But having said that, it's not a matter of the big stick by anybody else, threatening legislation. I think we need to do a little more consideration with regard to where we go with this bylaw. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves litigated against anyway. And I think with regard to the 100 metres, I'll accept there's got to be a lot of areas where that's going to be appropriate or workable. And I understand, unfortunately, it would probably mean a lot more. The staff are thinking, there's going to be a lot more logistics around management of that. Trying to enforce that, the signage would probably help, but I'd like to see a bit more mapping, a bit more common sense regarding it around the lake.
Okay. Councillor Howie?
I have mixed views, but I'm quite keen to move it on to, and I think we do need to make a decision and get on with it. Is there a possibility that if we reword it to be the 50 metres, can we pass it in that way?
Through Mr Chairman, I don't think the concerns that have been raised with us by the third party I don't think they'd be satisfied if it was 50 metres or 100 metres.
Can I clarify perhaps with Nigel or Jane? So we enacted this bylaw today. We went out, Scotty went out and infringed someone tomorrow. Is that fine collectible?
We can't predetermine whether a third party will judicially review.
Yep.
However, it is likely that infringements could be in doubt if we are judicially reviewed and that got upheld.
Yeah. Okay, so we pass a bylaw, the particular party might judicially review, that puts the whole bylaw into jeopardy?
Correct.
Right.
If it assists the councillors in their thinking about this,
if there's a general, if there's some thoughts around the table that there be some further information gathered, rather than just waiting for the central government lead, then the advice from officers is that there will still be an opportunity to do some extra work on this, some more consultation, and to have a bylaw in place in time for the summer at the December council meeting.
Okay. Thank you. All right, okay, we're going to make a decision whether we defer this item for extra information, some mapping, reserve management, reserve scenarios. So hands up who would want to defer this and bring it back to a special purpose, or as Nigel's indicated there, we have still got some time. Yes, Councillor Hickling, sorry.
Just ask Nigel to clarify. So would we still have time to go back out to the community for consultation and get perhaps the new bylaw, like if we take a bit of a breather space, we look at the plan, and then we perhaps adopt this present bylaw to accommodate those things? Would we still have time to go for further consultation?
So the process would be to leave this on the table, 1 month for officers to do some further work.
Yes.
1 month to go out and reconsult the community.
Yes.
Bylaw back to the next available council meeting, which is likely to be in December. So it would include reconsultation with the community.
Do you think that process would help to support the council from not having a judicial review?
It would certainly address any reservations in the community about whether the council needs to reconsult or not. So it would address that issue, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
But to be clear, if I can, it wouldn't necessarily address the issue that you're grappling with in terms of how far the act goes.
But it might soften the blow a bit. I don't know.
I think what we're all trying to indicate here is we want to save council money.
Yeah.
Judicial review. First invoice will be 50 grand.
Yeah,
I'm not just see it now. See it now.
Yeah.
So, I think if we can come up with a bit of a compromise today, that we still want to get to summer and have something in the scenario, Councillor King?
Yeah, I was just going to ask for something to be clarified. I suppose, just reflecting on my earlier comments, we have to be measured, I guess, in our response. So I'd certainly be interested in seeing what that looked like. But if it's, if it's on the basis that it's going to remove the talk about a buffer, then I'm not keen, because I think that's the very thing. I realise that, but I'm just saying I don't know how to get to that point. I mean, is that what we're talking about, or are we talking about something sort of else?
So it might be these reserves, take up a good proportion of this. Anyway, so
I guess I guess that's my advice would be that you've got, you actually don't know the scale of the problem at the moment. Outside of Taupo town, which is quite clear, I don't have a good handle on it to be able to advise you around the rest of the lake, with or without the buffer, where can, can't, depending on the land tenure. It may be that if we were to do some work and map out the land holdings and the tenure and the ability to camp or not on those other pieces, it might be that the problem doesn't actually necessitate a bylaw in those places anyway, which might resolve the problem. So I think what I would ask for is potentially that month initially to be able to do that work, bring it back to you, and then we can make an informed decision, or you can make an informed decision based on that information. It might be at that point that you decide this bylaw is still needed in its current form, and in that case you haven't lost anything other than 4 weeks, and you can add 3.5 because it's the next council meeting, and you can then get at that point. Alternatively, you may look at the outcome of that and say, look, the actual effect in practice is going to be so limited, and given the risks around this bylaw, we will amend it in this particular way and do the consultation, etc. that's required to be able to make that seamless. So I think you can have all the information at that point.
Can I ask
can we be sure that we will have the information fairly quickly? Because I'm of a mind to move on quickly.
I think the undertaking that we bring back that mapping by before that next council meeting for you to make that call.
Because I don't like the idea of making decisions based on other parties' influence as opposed to what our community wants.
Yep. So this would be more about you making a decision based on solid information, so that you know the scale of where this bylaw is going to have effect or not, rather than anybody else having any influence.
Through the chair, that's probably more my perspective as well, regarding being a bit of common sense and try and if it's relevant, it may not be one fit for the whole area, 50, 100 metres. I'm for the buffer, protecting that, as I said before, but I think maybe we just need a little bit more homework on it.
Okay, all right. 3 weeks. You happy to defer it 3 weeks? So just to
just leave it on the table.
Just leave it on the table.
Okay.
Right, just move on to the next item. Yeah. Okay. 5.7. Adoption of the Waikato Plan. You've got the copy here. More time reading for you. It's obviously been on the go since 2013, and myself and Councillor Park have been attending the meetings over the course of the time, so that's the final document. Nick, sorry, I didn't see you there. Nick, would you like to?
I didn't have anything really to add to the paper, other than all of the other partner councils, Waitomo have both adopted the Waikato Plan in its current form and have made their appointments to the Waikato Plan Leadership Group. Waitomo is similarly meeting today to you, so the expectation is that they'll also be making those appointments and agreeing the document.
Very good. And what's the exciting things for Lake Taupo district in there? Do we get mentioned?
We do. I think it would be fair to say that Taupo is seen as benefiting as part of the broader collaborative of the Waikato, rather than having any specific projects which are particularly targeted at this part of it.
Well answered. Councillor Park.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with what's happening up with the Auckland boom and what's happening with the sort of Waikato district and areas up that northern part of the Waikato with the government, central government's investment in housing and whatnot, that all major projects are going to be to that northern end, which is why I think it's great that the leadership group is going to representation of different sort of subzones. And one of the recommendations is that Mayor, His Worship Brian Hanna be our representative, and I'd really like to ensure that happens. He's a very good gent, and I don't see the need with what is going to be happening at the northern region for us to probably, I don't want to say waste time, but to be putting in time into something where we're not going to immediately benefit. There'll be ripple effects, but it's going to take a while before we reap any of those, I think. But I'm happy to move the recommendation in full.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Johns.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple of questions I had actually. One was about this Waikato Plan Leadership Group, because you're asking us to approve the agreement, but when I read the minutes, there seemed to me to be quite a bit of dissension within the committee on the makeup of this leadership group. So I wanted to understand how that's going to work moving forward if the committee doesn't seem to have an agreement yet on who's who in that particular committee, and what the mandate is of that leadership group in terms of their authority over this final plan. Can I have...
Page 243.
Yeah.
So the leadership group will be a formal joint committee of all of the councils, much like the current joint committee is, that's developed and overseeing the development of the plan. So it will have a formal status in terms of each of the councils. In terms of the membership, you're correct. There's been quite a lot of debate amongst the member parties around what that makeup should be. There have been some who have wanted to see greater representation from local government, others who have wanted to see a much slimmer version. My point earlier was that all of those other partner councils have agreed to the current terms of reference that have been included with the agenda writing. What's been signalled is that that may well be reviewed within 12 months, with the local government representation being the area of review.
Yeah, and just through the chair, I think we need to be careful about not getting involved in other districts' inner politics. You know, like the Hamilton mayor might have a view where another mayor might have a different view, because there is some probably some manoeuvring sort of going on about where the chair of where the bulk of that should be when you've got districts that are so overlapped and integrated as well.
What's your read, both of you, on the future of, I mean, there was some discussion in those minutes about funding moving forward and who would be observers and who would be members, depending on whether people made contributions in kind or financially. Where do you see that heading?
Just to be very clear, if the terms of reference are to be changed, then they'll require council to be involved.
Okay.
To prove that. So there won't be changes without Taupo District Council being involved in the process. As to what may happen in a review in 12 months, that's well and truly involved.
Okay.
The finances going forward, there's no commitment from us?
At this point in time, Taupo District Council is not providing funding for implementation. That may be something you choose to reassess through the long-term plan budgets, but at this point, nothing is committed.
And just through the chair, since the last time came to council for some funding for this Waikato plan, there have been other approaches for further funding for the transitional phase, of which a decision was made not even to bring it to the floor, that we would step back, because it was like 35,000 when we can spend that on far better projects here
locally.
at home.
Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll wait and see. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Nick. And I know, and acknowledge Councillor Parkin and Councillor Johns initially too, as part of the process here, a lot of time in Hamilton, a lot of, meetings away. So I really appreciate the effort, and hopefully it is a tool we can use in the future. Somewhere along the way, I think we were better in the camp than out of it. So, so that's the final result. It's a fairly hefty document, but we've done it. All right, suggested recommendation there, we adopt the plan. Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Harvey. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carry. 5.8, extraordinary vacancies, Council and Turangi Tongariro Community Board. Tina, have we any applications? This is the process, is it?
So this is just outlining the process and requesting unbudgeted funding for the by-election and for the both of those positions, vacant positions in the Turangi Tongariro Ward.
Okay. Makes sense. So we've had a quote of 21,000 plus GST?
Correct.
Yeah.
It would be less than that if there's no requirement to actually vote if there's only one candidate for those vacancies.
So that would address, okay, cool.
That would be handy.
Yeah. And there was an indication in the community or in the newspaper that that figure would be reimbursed somewhere or to a community fund or something? Is that correct? I saw.
Anything about that?
I read in the media that a particular vacancy was going to reimburse some community fund. Yeah, but anyway, okay. All right.
Another thing just to point out is that if one of the board members, existing board members, became a councillor, then that would create another vacancy on the community board, and there would be another by-election.
Oh, dear.
Hold on. So what do we do? Let me pass me again.
You can't build from the existing election. So if one of the existing board members stood for the ward councillor position
Yes.
and was successful,
Yes.
then that would create another vacancy.
And the board.
Another by-election.
Another 21 vote. Okay.
Can we say no?
No.
Budgeted expenditure? I mean, no, we can't? That's a shame.
Okay, all right. Have we got the money, Alan?
We'll find it.
You sure?
It's in your pocket. Happy to move, your worship.
I beg your pardon?
We're happy.
I'm happy to move the recommendation.
What are you smiling for? All right, move the recommendation, moved by councillor Kenny, seconded by councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Okay, thanks, Tina. What else we got? Oh, you're still there? Council engagements or August conference opportunities and appointment Tuta Mahuta, Reserve Trust Committee.
So just a couple of changes to the engagement. The emergency committee meeting's been cancelled. Postponed. Yeah. And there's an additional meeting on Tuesday the 22nd, 1:30 to 3:30 workshop regarding building site options. It's the second of the workshops that we started last week.
Cool. Are we in those? Okay, and we need a replacement for Tuta Mahuta.
Correct.
I'd like to nominate councillor Rankin.
I accept.
You accept? Good. Okay. Councillors happy with that?
Oh, your worship, I was been in service before. Happy to come and support councillor Rankin, that Reserve Trust, if you need some additional support.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, and I'd just like to acknowledge councillor Hickling's long service on that committee. How many years, Barry?
Too many.
Too many. Obviously, the formation of the hall down there, the development of the grounds, the Waitanui community has benefited from councillor Hickling's expertise on that area, especially in his specialist field of parks and reserves. So thank you, councillor Hickling, for your hard work on that committee, and I'm sure councillor Rankin will take over the mantle. And if there's any information you can pass to councillor Rankin. I sit on the ex officio, so I'm happy to guide you down to Waitanui. And carry on the good work. But can I just say that Tuta Mahuta Hall is just unbelievably being used for whatever, line dancing, flax making, what else, Dylan? Heaps of stuff. Heaps of stuff, but it's great to see that facility really getting used. So cool. All right. So recommendation that receive the information with those amended dates, and councillor Rankin be appointed to Tuta Mahuta. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by councillor Park, seconded by councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 5.10, members' reports. Just carrying forward, any verbal reports by any chance? Obviously, some of us have just returned from the local government New Zealand conference. Excellent conference, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Harvey.
I was just going to say, it was, I was really appreciated the opportunity to attend. It was my first one. And I must admit, I got a lot out of all the sessions and attended, I think, just about all of them. And particularly enjoyed the breakfast meeting on the Monday. Who was the young lady who started the, what was it, the hip hop operation dance group, which was absolutely amazing. And those who, I think other people attended as well, who found it really, really inspirational. So that set the tone for me for the.
There was only two elder statesmen of the delegation there, actually, Rosie. It was because it's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I was there.
Yes, you and me. The oldies. The oldies were there. But just for the members of the public, it's a group started in Waiheke Island, average age of 90-year-olds, and they took 25 of them to America to do hip hop. It's unbelievable. You know them, Kristen? No, what I mean is you've seen it on TV.
I have. I'm not a member. I'd like to be a member one day.
But no, incredible. It was tearjerker, wasn't it? Really was. And this lady used to work in Taupo, actually, radio legend here.
Yes, she did.
Started it all.
So I've got her card, whoever would like to start the next movement.
Yeah.
Right.
It was great.
Anyway, sorry to bore everyone, but that was excellent.
It was well worth
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Sir Chair. I attended the conference as well. I found it very, very interesting. And there was an overlying thing was like communities in going towards 2050. Was it livable places, livable spaces or something? Yeah. But I was particularly interested personally with the theme right through almost keynote speakers pretty much was water quality, water availability through waters, and climate change. Right, just about so it was very, very significant. And obviously, we're no exceptions. We have those issues as well. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Climate change.
The other one I particularly enjoyed was the Lord Mayor Doyle from Melbourne and his ideas on what he's done with the city. And it did give us some food for thought, as to, even though we're not large, there are some things that we could do in our communities that would absolutely bring more vibrance to it. So I found his presentation particularly good.
Good. Councillor Kingy.
Oh, Your Worship, I was just going to mention to update myself, Councillor Truman and Community Board Chair went to Te Maruata, which is the elected members, Māori members on the Saturday. It was a very informative session, quite an interactive session, and great to see the diversity actually around the country and how I guess councils, regional councils, local authorities I guess provide for Māori representation, and there's many different shapes and sizes I guess around the country, but certainly going forward I believe there are going to be some there's going to be refocusing within that group I guess to try and inform councils about perhaps some best practice in that space, because I guess everybody's really a little bit unsure on the national landscape. I mean, it's left up to each council to adopt, or rather to identify things when their representation review come around. So it was fantastic to fly the flag for the Taupo district and to be there and to hear what other councils are getting up to. So it was a good scene. So I'd like to think that we set the scene for the local government conference having started on the Saturday, and then everyone was in good stead for the rest of the conference. But thank you to the members that endorsed our application to go, and thank you to our caretaker Dylan, who was a very capable driver and advisor to the three of us who were flying with me.
Yeah, the haircut too, Bill. You
can see that far, Your Worship.
Well, it was absolutely an opportune time to go to that, because obviously we're going to go through that review very shortly. So I'm glad that you've been and you've got an idea going forward as to what we can do. Yeah, so well done. Thank you, and thanks, Councillor Truman, for going up too. All right, obviously we'll table the table reports here. So recommendation that we receive the reports. Mover, thank you, Councillor Hickman, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Conference. Okay. All right. That ends the public part of the meeting. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We'll move into confidence now.
I'll move.
You move? Do you want me to?
Just noting that that there's the two new items, so item 6.3, which is the confirmation of the confidential portion of the ordinary council minutes of the 6th of May, and then the item 6.4, which is the licence to occupy assignment. So just noting those two items in there as well. Your things on the moving session.
Yeah, mover, please. Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Right.